You know where
No,
Toronto is?
I never even had any idea. I just know you, and I forgot to even think about where you're from.
Lake Ontario.
It sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to warm up a little bit, but it's been pretty cold.
Been shockingly warm in Chicago for most of the winter,
Mm-hmm.
and we tend to be used to the cold as Canadians stereotypically are. Chicagoans are usually right there with you, but not this year.
There you go.
It keeps snowing in Vancouver if we're talking weather.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is weird.
amazing.
We've got Sam knows, we've got our little Shangri-La in this Pacific Northwest where it's like, okay, yeah, I know the rest of you get winter, but we're not supposed to. We're on our third winter, for crying out loud.
We got about an inch of snow about 2 days ago, and it lasted about a half a day. But it was beautiful. It's like, White Christmas all over again.
Yeah.
We haven't even had any snow yet. In here where I live in Toulouse, it usually snows most years, but we might also miss it. It's so relatively mild that it freezes, but unless there's sort of rain and freezing at the same time, it might not snow. So nothing this year. Anyway, we're checking in, so everybody else, just anybody who feels like it, let us know how you're doing.
I feel warm. I feel comfortable. But I think I still have some expectations.
Oh,
We had very little snow.
where?
Yes.
Oh, in Denmark?
Heiner's in Berlin, I think. Right now, too. Yes. Okay, I'm just gonna help a couple of people show up, so keep checking in.
Long time no see, Heiner.
I'm fine. I'm about to hit my desktop, so I'm not on the road anymore.
Okay.
Okay, and right, everybody, we're just checking in, saying how we're doing, where we are, whatever you want to say before we get started a little more formally. So say hello.
Hi.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hello. I'm sorry I'm late, everybody.
Hello, Heidi, and hello, Sheridan. Hello, all the rest of you.
Hi.
Familiar faces.
Sophie.
Nice.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
So do we do the mute thing at this point, or you tell us what to do then? I did a little reading on Bohm Dialogue. Last time I joined you all, I just thought it was a talk. I thought we were all just talking. I was slightly mistaken. I don't understand the quiet part, but I'm going to talk. already? You're the mean teacher.
You're not even a teacher.
No, you're the professor in the lab jacket.
I'm surprised to find myself surprised that there are actually rays of sun coming through the trees. Forgot what that looked like.
With your own body, you're also present with us, with a group of other people looking at each other right now. We're present both individually, and we're present with each other, and together we are present. Maybe something is even trying to be present through us. And as we try to be more present in this shared space together, just continue being relaxed, and as soon as we are ready, let us start.
The sun is warm today, and there's a breeze, and there's a bit of blue sky showing through. And the first signs of spring are around. The shoots are coming up on the bluebell plants, and the catkins on the hazel tree have opened, and they have tiny little pink flowers, the hazel trees. Minute, really bright, beautiful pink flowers.
Bright pink.
Yeah. And there's a sense of opening. That's what I feel. But very quiet and gentle.
I sense the growth of trust in me, at least.
It's interesting, Fleming, you choose the picture of a young child walking towards some lights with snow on the ground, pine trees beside the child, which is like, for me, represented a Christmas picture. And Tim is describing the spring. So we moved on.
Two thoughts blinked into my consciousness. One is that it takes a while for me to enter this state of quietness and zero expectation. I don't think I've got it yet. Because my second thought is that I expected to see Letitia this morning.
I've been thinking about our experiments, and I wondered this might be something for another experiment. But one of the things I was noticing is that a lot of the times we're talking about, or sometimes we're talking about the things that we know or we think we know. And I wondered about us asking questions rather than answers.
Why?
To be able to identify what, okay, oh shit, wait. I'm curious, and want to know what this group would like to know together. And so I will ask this group, what do we want to know together?
What is possible to do, or better, how is it possible to be while facing the challenges of the world? That is what I would like to find, explore.
I didn't hear a word in that, Heidi.
How to be in the face of all these challenges, how to cope with them, how to keep the emotions in a place so that we are still functional and be able to do something like this.
Thank you. This morning I mailed to Mila, who's hopefully present here as well, and she made me write, that I feel that connecting the way we do is a very hopeful thing, because we are basically the mature adult weaving the strong connections over this globe. And my hope is that we will be the people holding it together if at any point the system would crumble. And we are basically pioneering the way forward, and experiments like this to me are living proof of that. I can be with total strangers in a space that's in a we space that I can trust and be relaxed in. So that's what it kind of, that's the evolution that we are creating, co-creating right now, and that gives me great hope. Even though I'm extremely scared at the same time.
In those times where we're just quiet, like when we just started here, I both experience that I think I feel very comfortable with that. I would be okay with doing that for a while. And at the same time, I notice a little bit of sort of nervousness. I don't know if it's my own or other people's, doesn't really matter, but sort of like we're waiting for something, like what happens next kind of thing. Who's gonna say something? What is it that wants to happen kind of thing, which in a way is good, but in another way it maybe, I feel it sort of hinders us, that we're waiting for something. Like, I'd like us to not wait. I'd like us to not be, okay, who's going to come up with something really clever or deep or present or something. The waiting, I feel that's maybe a barrier. At the same time, it's sort of an openness. We're okay with what's going to happen, but I feel we don't need to wait. And then my question is how to move beyond waiting for something to happen.
Great, go with the flow.
Well, yes, go with the flow. I think what I'd like to see, whether it's now or in the next few sessions, is for us to co-create what vision we want for our future and the next 7 generations. That would be lovely, I think.
Why wait?
Well, we can start it now. I'm still on the way home and I'll be shortly on video.
What's your vision? What's your heart's vision for the future?
More of this, just, I don't know very little about you people, but I know that you're all here on this planet trying to contribute what you can, and nothing more than that, just not trying to get as much as you can or as fast as you can or driven by fear. We own our own fear, and we do our own thing, and we connected as whole humans in a one whole system. That's my vision. So we're kind of practicing my future here.
I love that, Harry. Practicing my future, practicing our future. It's a playground of attempt. It's a playground of trying. I'd like to go back to the word emotions. I felt a question earlier on, and I believe it was replied to with the word hope. Hope, is that enough to manage emotions that are more difficult to manage? I'm listening to any response.
Now, I like what emotions. Could you say a little more about that, Sophie?
Yes, actually, it's not my words. I wanted to bounce back to what I heard from Heidi. I felt, I feel them as personally as making me alive. So I want them, I need them. And at the same time, I heard and I've experienced that they might be destroying as well. And making my feet stuck in the mud. So I wanted to hear what anybody's got to say on emotions and what we could share to make us more alive.
So when I come back into what I meant were these emotions of preoccupation, worrying, and fear, which I feel quite a lot in this year by having understood a lot of things which are really much worse than I thought in reality. And so my question for me is, how can I not be overwhelmed? I mean, how, not only me, but I see other people acting in very emotional on many things. How can we find a way to be together, having our emotions, but without allowing the emotions to destroy the connection? I don't mean you. I think we are here people who have a certain conversational culture. I talk about people, for instance, on Facebook who are accusing, blaming, who are things like this. How can we be a guidance by maintaining our emotions and still have an impact on other people to express themselves in a way which is constructive? I mean, I see so many ways of conversation which are definitely destructive and separating, and how can we create something new? And not only with people like us, because for us it's sort of easy. We come together because we have a certain intent, already. and a certain level of commune, how do you say, of shared intentions. How can we influence the world to be less destructive, let's say in this way?
The feelings of pain are a sign that we're alive. And sometimes I think they're like alarm bells that are ringing, alerting us to something that needs our attention. And then the best I can do is to address it as well as I can in the moment and turn the alarm off so I'm not just constantly experiencing the pain. I'm pretty sure we've all done enough of that. So I just face whatever I have to face as well as I can in the moment and turn the alarm off. And because I just don't want to spend my life that way. It's such a waste of precious life. And as to how we proceed from that, that's just kind of my personal experience. And I suspect we probably all have done something like that. But there are a lot of the people, a lot of us, Heidi, as you were saying, are, arguing and just all kinds of negative emotion flying around. And you can't just hide from it. And actually, I don't know what to do, really. But the best I can do personally, and hopefully find some way to allow other people to do it as well, is to find ways to deal with these emotions and these alarms going off as well as we can, and to keep going.
My experience has been that there's some emotions like here that are part of being present. Like when somebody here in this group expresses how they feel about something in their life or about being present, it might be being uncomfortable or happy or whatever it is. It seems like it tends to move things forward. It helps us experience it deeper, see it more clearly, which is a good thing. So I think we need more of that. At the same time, there's kind of this other kind. We have one word that covers a bunch of different things. If we have emotions about very far away, abstract kind of things, it's maybe not so helpful to have a lot of strong emotions about Donald Trump or about something else that's like a little bit away that you can't directly do all that much about, although there are always things you can do. So I'm just trying to make the distinction that there's great value in this sort of present, what are we actually experiencing, and we very easily can get lost in abstract emotions where we feel really bad about things that are like we're not actually directly in. And I might be judging the second part a little negatively. It might be we still need to express it, I don't know. But I just want to notice the difference.
It seems to me that that all this pain, all this anguish, all this worry is a necessary thing, because what's happening is our comfortable way of being, our culture is coming unraveled, and it needs to die, and that requires us, a part of ourselves, to die as well. And I think there might be perhaps a case for embracing hopelessness rather than looking for hope, to actually go to the place of there is no hope and clear out and empty out completely, so that we can then just see what's left, which I think is this. When this is working, that's what's left. When everything else drops away, There's only this. There's who am I in this moment, in my vulnerability, in my power, in my love, my imagination. Who am I right now with everything else removed? And it seems like that's what's needed. That it has to die because it's killing us all. So we have to let it die in ourselves.
Oh.
I'm listening to all of you, and I feel like what I'm hearing described is, it started with the sunshine coming through the trees and beautiful things that are natural, that will happen every day, unless we have a terrible disaster, nuclear winter or something, but the sun will rise every day, even if bad things are happening here on Earth. And I hear about the fear, and I'm hearing about the togetherness, and it's kind of making me feel like I feel out on my roof. I go out there in the summertime and I do my yoga and I soak up the sunshine and I have my coffee and my kitties are out there. And it's that kind of hope and that kind of togetherness and trust with each other that will help us to overcome these hard and scary things. And as long as we're with each other and we are safe, we make each other feel safe, I think we can turn proactive instead of scared. I think we could look at what the situation is and pull together and somehow make it work, with all of us sticking together and thinking about the beautiful things when we need to, instead of focusing on the negativity. Not to say that it's not a necessary step. Obviously, we focus on what the problem is so that we can fix it. But I think when you roll it all together, all the beauty in the world, the friendship, the trust, the scary things, I'm hopeful that we could handle it.
I very much like the two approaches, the two descriptions of one whole reality. There's going to be times where I'm going to fall on the first description of letting things die for renewing and reshaping and relooking and making space for new creations. And there's going to be time where I'm going to need green, breathing properly, looking at the places of love to make sure I regenerate. I strongly feel the two are kind of complementary.
When the old thing dies and the new thing can be born, it can be like a new adventure. And it occurs to me that even if things are really, really hard work, that's what makes you feel alive. When you really have something dire and important and vital to pull together to do to make it work. It kind of reminds me of when I was a kid and all of a sudden you wake up and there's 4 feet of snow and the world stops and nobody goes to work and they all go out there and shovel and we're all talking to each other and sharing hot chocolate. It's a whole different world when that happens, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of a hopeful thing. It's like when we would sit out on the porch in the thunderstorms, in the sweltering heat in the summer before air conditioning. Everything has to stop so that something can connect. maybe even great ideas come from that connection when everything stops.
I think that's kind of what I'm implying, that we let it die so that the new thing can grow, or we're not trying to kind of keep reviving this dying thing. We just kill it, and then we can get all excited, like you're saying, you know, the energy can go into doing something useful, not trying desperately to hold on to something that we're losing, which is a hopeless cause anyway. So just, you know, kill it. Not only not try and hold on, but, you know, kick it off the cliff and then start, you know, with that inspired energy that we'll have. You know, just think about that shift in the whole of your community where you are. If instead of everyone carrying around this sense of gloom all the time, suddenly it's this, wow, here's a chance to do something. Can you imagine this, the stored up energy that there must be right now for that? Everyone's just like, ooh, waiting to explode with it. That's what I think.
So I've been listening since my journey, and I just got home, and I think I do agree with everyone's sharing, and I would just give a slight take on that, which is my own experience of shifting from an ending to a beginning. There is a transition moment, a bridging that happens, and one needs to attend to that too. So one needs to attend to the end like a grief, but before we can jump directly into this hope, there is a transition, there is a bridge. So we need to also be mindful of that, because jumping from an ending to a beginning immediately, we're not attending to the emotion, all of the, because what I'm hearing from playground to fear to hope, that's all in that bridge transition. And one needs to almost be in stillness to welcome, let go of the ending to welcome the new. It needs to be this stillness. And in martial arts is something, and Sam could talk more about this because I'm not an expert. In martial arts is something similar. And a lot of people I see is just go from thinking to doing and, ending, beginning, without taking the time to respect. There's huge wisdom in our body that needs to be attended to, and just being aware of being aware. And that's really, really hard to do. And in that moment, I think a lot of healing happens before we start to begin the excitement, etc. If not, we will, when we go into begin, that healing hasn't really, we haven't attended to the emotion and embraced that as you go into that beginning, and you often see this in groups, the conflict starts because projecting issues that are still not yet our individual issues we bring to the table because we haven't really attended to it properly, to give it the respect that one would give to another person. So we need to do that, be mindful of that, to do it to ourselves. So I would invite people to maybe do an embodiment of whatever emotion you feel in the moment. Instead of talking about it, where is it in your body? And exaggerate, because right now I'm tired in my eyes, but at the same time, all my blood cells are excited listening to you.
One thing I'm starting to trust is that I am not having to do this on my own. I felt so alone, and that's not necessary. I don't need to understand everything. I don't need to feel everything. I don't need to carry everything. I can just... I'll do the hairy part, okay? You do the rest.
One of the things that I've just been loving about this is I'm feeling whatever this is right now, this is it. And and I would also bring into our awareness what it is to observe. Like we're observing right now in real time, but we also have the opportunity to observe ourselves later. And some of my most recent, deepest learnings has been in that piece. So I would also invite us to consider what this kind of co-observation is, because it feeds into what we're doing. It's a part of it. And it kind of extends our senses into this group field in a way that's really interesting and exciting and helps to hold us.
In about a month's time, I will be taking you all with me to Weifang, China, where my wife is going to be a vice principal of a brand new school that is being opened in September. So we get it going there ahead of time to get things ready. She's going to be one of 3 vice principals. It's a pretty big school, 1,000 students to start with, private. And I'm wrapping my head around that I'm here right now, and I will be here in China in a month, looking at you through this screen from a totally different culture, and then sharing that with you all, how it all feels. I'm sure it's going to be different, and it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be mysterious, and at the same time, I have no idea. I know a little bit about China, but I have not lived in China, and it's going to be different living and breathing in that atmosphere. And I'm trying to wrap my head around that each and every day as time approaches and we get ready for it. It's going to be fun. So I just wanted to share that.
Simon, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great adventure.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And maybe I've had experiences somewhat like this in groups, but it's really pretty strong here that there's just this feeling of the different, being aware of these different personal realities spread around the world. And I think all of us get to experience it individually as well as collectively. And so it's like as if, I guess it's holographic. So each one of us is also the whole. And so there's this part of me that's heading for China.
We're all going to be, sorry.
I'll be sharing with Harry on Saturday. I'll be meeting Harry in person in a 1,000 random citizen experiment.
I feel that somehow right now we're the most action-oriented I've felt us so far, even though we're not necessarily doing anything in particular. But this is the most sort of fertile, ready for doing something I felt us, and I had no particular expectation necessarily today of that, but it feels different.
That was the theme, so that's great.
No expectations, just emergence.
Being present exactly who you are right now, right here.
It occurs to me that being in the group is the most natural way for humans to be. And we often aren't in that kind of group anymore. But when we see how damaging certain emotions can be, fear or stress or any of these worries we have, that being in the group is the protection from that. Because I can imagine, you know, real true groups of humans living together, when one is down, the others can cheer that person up or talk to that person or give them hope. And alone, we can't do that. And sometimes even with the one or two or handful of people near us, there just might not be anybody available at the moment. But the natural group is the natural, healthy way for us to not let emotions overcome us.
So I agree about the group supporting emotional changes, just experiencing emotion and really researching about emotion. Actually, emotion, there's no emotion that's damaging, because emotion is really, literally, at least from my perspective, from what I'm sensing and learning, and it's still a work in progress, it's really about data. It's just telling us data, like I think it was Ron who was talking about signals. And it's damaging if we individually do not understand how to attend to it, and that then we project to groups. But with groups that are present and supportive, I think we can really help each other. And in that way, I really do agree with you, Cheryl.
Mila, I love how you brought in the acceptance, because I feel like that's really important too about emotions, is to just open your heart and let it come through and go through the process of feeling it instead of rejecting it and trying to hide from it, and processing it. And also to look at yourself and say, wow, look, I'm unscathed. Nothing has really killed me. You know, a hero only dies once.
That fits exactly with the story Heidi shared. Okay, we can be scared if we want, but as long as it doesn't kill us, it's part of the growth. And I gladly risk dying in the process.
Not yet, not until I meet you.
I don't know if I'm alone in this, in the world of humans, but there is a part of me that actually longs for a time when we might have to pull together and we might have to figure something new out, new way to live, new way to survive, new way to be. And it's I don't know how to describe it, but there's something about it that's really alive. There really is. And like I said, it's the same feeling of sitting on the porch in the thunderstorm or pulling together in the snowstorm or whatever. But there's something about this that we're stuck that feels less alive.
And it's an organic consciousness that's happening all over the world, from Saudi Arabia to Chile to Indonesia, I've had many, many conversations, and there seems some stuckness, but also some movement. So there is hope. In the fear, there is hope.
It's also that sometimes it becomes something abstract. It's kind of like if we know what's going on and then we're present with it, most of us will know what to do. If there's an earthquake and it's right in front of us, and we will do whatever is necessary if we really get it, if we feel we're in it. But a lot of the problems in the world are still sort of so abstract that we have a hard time experiencing that. We would like to, but it's still sort of as a strange, fuzzy kind of thing. So if we can become present with what actually is there, whether it's something dying or being born, it maybe doesn't even matter, but being present with what it is, we will know what to do. But I don't know how we become present with the world, but maybe we are.
What you were saying.
I'd like to share that I was in this conference, open conference that I was invited, and I was a speaker. And we talked about all of the global climate issues right now, not climate, but complex challenge issues. And these are, 200 to 300 professionals from various multidisciplinary, and they all felt overwhelmed. And I so agree with Fleming that it was too abstract, too far away. So that they asked me, how can I, proceed? How can I make a difference? How can I contribute to something so abstract like global climate, corruption, whatever it is, whatever the issue is. So I said, well, look around you. Where can you contribute pragmatically? Find a community, find a group that you can immediately see that contribution. This grandiose idea that you have to do something that's global is not necessary. And it will come to you because it's something you love to do, something that you call onto the universe to work with. So I think it's about getting a little bit pragmatic and seeing what's around you. There's enough work around you that's waiting for your special brand, special uniqueness to help.
Yeah, I would say go even one step closer and start with yourself. There's always plenty of work to be done there, and that might be the most important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Tim in this. I wanted to say before, we have the experience that after a catastrophe, we automatically this feeling of being together and built up. And I'm asking myself, do we humans really need catastrophe for being able to create this? Or is there a way, dying a little bit, but not really going into catastrophe?
I'm reminded of the idea of build a new model, and then we would not have to have an abrupt ending. We would just flow into the better thing.
I think that is exactly what we are practicing and experimenting right now. A new way of connecting without having models or silos or structures that keep us both protected and both present. And we are being whole, myself, and then being naked in the connection to you and that's what we have been missing and what we need and will hopefully save us. I'm not counting on the systems and the institutions. I'm counting on myself and you, the we-ness.
And I agree with Harry, the we-ness, but the we-ness starts here, not here for me. The we-ness has to be a holistic we-ness that starts individually, that connects to the collective we. Because if we start having the connection here, that's where conflict starts, at least from my experience.
And this binds back to what I said at the beginning. When the conversation is only here, which I see so often, this creates separation, creates conflict, creates accusation, creates all sort of stuff, and the missing a willingness to be humble and to just listen to what the others have to say, instead of wanting to be righter than the other one.
Just wanted to say we are reaching the end of this hour, so we can decide if we'll stick with the normal format of an hour or if there's anything that needs to continue. But if we stick with the normal format, we would move on to sort of looking at how did this experiment work? What happened during this hour here?
I have a perspective I'd like to share. I love the world that is being described here about the we-ness, the connection, the self-initiation, the presence that we bring. I feel that there is another perspective that also needs to be considered. If we were living in village form, the way many of our ancestors lived for thousands of years, this, I think, would suffice, and that would bring about the thousands of years of relative peace and prosperity. But we now have a system where if the 12 of us were in a village and I started gathering up all the rice and all the vegetables and all the potatoes and I started putting it in my own little, cave where none of you could get at it, it would be obvious to the rest of you what should be done. And yet at scale, we now see various people hiding, lots of resources in caves, and we sit here not knowing what to do. So there's a scale difference that brings about this group or massive confusion or non-action. I mean, granted, there are some things starting to take place, but it's been evident for decades that this is happening, and we still have not resolved it.
We're still working on it, Sam.
Absolutely.
We'll find a way.
I hope.
We are.
I am very open to that. Anyway, what I'm hoping is that we can add to this we-ness that we're talking about that brings about an impact at scale that is not yet possible when we yet are taking independent individual action. That's my confusion.
This is it. We're doing it right now. This is it. And when you carry this into the rest of your life, when you carry this into every connection or communication or conversation you have, that's how it scales. And there are other people doing similar things, I'm sure, millions of them right now in a similar way or a different way, but it's all kind of, related. And it's not this idea of scaling and I think to me, that's kind of like how we looked at things before. That's the old thinking, like you had to somehow have a plan or a vision but this is kind of spontaneous. It's autonomous. It just emerges wherever that internal need in people causes them to go and seek other people who are also feeling that need and get together and have a conversation. So I really feel like every time the frustration is expressed that, it's nothing's being done or we're not doing anything. This is it. We're doing it. We are taking action by doing this. Every time we're present and we're really here and it feels right, we are doing it and we are taking action. And this might be the most potent form of action. And it isn't a kind of, hammering a nail but it's a form of action nonetheless to me.
More and more, I'm allowing myself to be just myself everywhere, anytime. And that's all I have. And it seems to work. I become kind of human. One man at a time, somebody said.
I want to add the other component, which is the overall inclusive component of becoming more and more aware of the energy that we are exuding as a group. Constantly sift through, scan through each face and realize the energy that is coming out from each individual. Regardless of what comes out of their mouth, it's the energy that comes out of each individual. And we're all interconnected at this moment in time. And like Tim saying, yes, we're doing it, but we're doing it in even more strange ways that we can consider. We are energy before we are human. So this is the step forward that we're making now. We've always been talking about humans, humans, humans. Now we're realizing that before we are defined as humans, we are energy. We are an energy field which is constantly vibrating, oscillating, and spreading through the universe. It's expressed through this body, but we are energy first. And as we become more aware of that energy, that's really what makes the paradigm shift into wherever we're going. Not as humans, but as energy entities.
This reminds me of yesterday I was listening to an interview with Sam Harris, and he happened to be talking about his MDMA experience. And I've never done anything like that, and I'm not espousing it. However, it was an interesting thing that he described. He said he was a teenager. He did it with a friend, a guy, and Sam, of course, is a man. And that as they were sitting there talking, they suddenly realized or felt as if self, the boundaries of self had disappeared. And he said he was overwhelmingly freed and buoyant and light because he suddenly realized how heavy that was to hold, and how he and his other male teenage friend ended up in a long embrace, and pointed out, I'm not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But the point of the matter is, the exercise of the matter is that maybe that's just really what we are, is all people who just can love each other. And I don't know, it just seems like we're poking at the right thing to me, this experiment.
I love what I feel like I'm learning in being able to hold all of what we are expressing and being. And it feels like it's really allowing me to understand in a biological way, but also like spiritually interconnected way, using all of the senses to extend my awareness into where you are all. And that feels like a beautiful muscle to exercise.
Thank you, Tammy. I think I would jump onto what Simon said. So if you could imagine us as an embodied being, our whole being, including our mind, just dots. There's 12 dots here. There's energy flowing, yellow, flowing all over, different colors, different properties. And as we merge together, as we're sharing, our energies are spreading into each other and spreading through our bodies. The 12 becomes a collective we, and those energies spreads out and ripples outside of this conversation as we talk to others. And without us knowing, indirectly, more energies actually attached to this conversation. To me, that's how we scale.
I really enjoyed being silent for 1 hour. I really enjoyed the group of 12, which is a magic number. In my heart, I could have been speaking up a lot of time, and I resonated a lot with Sam, because I think the issue of scaling up, not just between me and you, but with the they and the others, and how we bring it together across sectors and scales and cultures is an issue. We didn't tackle that, but I think the subsuming and resonating and feeling is right. So I broke my oath and I spoke up. Thank you, and hopefully soon again.
I think we probably should end shortly. Any sort of final remarks?
Connection.
When we have no expectations, we seem to stop trying and start being.
So thank you all for coming. It's been lovely. I personally am very happy with what happened, even though I had no expectations. So I do, however, expect to see you all again sometime soon. For anybody who wants to be part of planning the next session, you can stay on afterwards if you want to. But otherwise, I'd like to say hasta la vista, see you next time, and thank you for coming.